Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, joins us now with a look at last night's convention highlights and a preview of tonight's events. Philip, welcome back. Good to see you. Joe Biden's nomination last night realizes a pursuit 30 years in the making for him, and also a comeback that just a few months ago many did not think was possible.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey for the former vice president. You might have seen those pictures just after the roll call yesterday. Seemed like a look of surprise on Joe Biden's face, almost, that he had finally clinched that nomination. He might have been thinking back to those normal days, to the South Carolina primary at the end of February and Super Tuesday at the beginning of March, when he finally made his way toward the nomination. Remember that Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, was the favorite beforehand. Now, Joe Biden is somebody who's been looking at eyeing the presidency for over 30 years. Now, at the age of 77, he is finally the nominee of his party. Of course, he couldn't have imagined that this historic moment for him would have looked the way it did during a coronavirus pandemic, and him accepting the nomination on Thursday night here in Wilmington with no audience, finding out about it last night again with just his family present. These are extraordinary times, and it is an extraordinary convention as well.
Well, Philip, as you know, last night's theme was Leadership Matters. We had a chance to hear from former Presidents Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton. What did President Clinton have to say about the differences between a Joe Biden presidency and that of President Trump?
Really interesting role that the former president played yesterday. This is now the 11th convention at which he has spoken on stage, or yesterday, of course, via video. Bill Clinton, in his message, compared how Joe Biden would run the presidency as compared to Donald Trump, saying that Donald Trump turned the Oval Office into a storm center rather than a command center during the coronavirus pandemic. The message from Bill Clinton being quite clearly that Donald Trump is not fit for office. Now, interestingly enough, though, Bill Clinton has only spoken the first hour of the 2 hours of the second night of the Democratic convention, meaning that he's gone down in importance a little bit within the party. When you look at that second hour, the keynote was from Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, the wife of Joe Biden, who gave the most important speech of them all from an empty classroom here in Wilmington. Her message was essentially this one, that Joe Biden would take care of the American people during the coronavirus outbreak, as he has taken care of his family during different difficult times. Now, speaking of Jill Biden, she did the circuit of the network interviews this morning here in Wilmington, and she again had to field those questions repeatedly, whether her husband was fit for office. She says emphatically that yes, he is.
Democrats also spent time talking about Biden's decency and character as well. Speaking of Joe Biden's wife, Dr. Jill Biden, last night she gave a speech. How did she drive that point home?
Well, it was a very interesting setting for her in that empty classroom of a school where she once taught, a symbol of the coronavirus outbreak, of course, that empty classroom where there should have been students, of course, where she once taught English. So it was really a portrait that she was trying to paint of Joe Biden as you said, that decent family man who's gone through all sorts of tragedy in his life, the relatively recent loss of his son. There beforehand, decades ago already, the loss of his wife and his daughter in a car accident, a tragic life, but she painted the portrait of somebody who she believes the American people can trust. She did not necessarily go after Donald Trump as other keynote speakers have. In that sense, her speech yesterday was different from others that we've heard during this convention.
Well, Philip, we don't have much time, but we are expected to hear from Hillary Clinton tonight, the former 2016 presidential candidate. We're also going to hear from Kamala Harris, who accepts the nomination for vice president tonight. Two women who, in their own right, have made history within the Democratic Party. Do we have a sense yet of what they're expected to say?
Well, Kamala Harris will be making history right here in the building you see behind me here in Wilmington. She will be accepting the nomination of her party, but without an audience, without any applause, with just a few campaign staffers and probably her husband in attendance. One thing I'd look out for is whether she will talk about race issues. Of course, she's going to make history as the first black female vice president potentially of the United States. Of course, the first black black female nominee of a major party as well. You might remember that in the second Democratic debate of this primary season, she attacked Joe Biden on race issues, didn't call him a racist, but went after him still. She might well want to mention that. You also mentioned Hillary Clinton. Now, she has a speaking role here, but she is unlikely to talk about her run much against Donald Trump. She is the only person within the Democratic Party who knows what it's like to run against Donald Trump in a presidential race. She's expected to focus much more on the role of women in politics, and most notably women within the Democratic Party taking positions of power over the last few months and years.
Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, thank you as always.